Call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Burgess.
Here.
Mims. Sully.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Teague.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Weiner.
Here.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Very excited to be here with you tonight. I did want to just talk about the mask order that ended today. I know that many of us have been concerned about what's been happening throughout our community since last Thursday when the CDC came forth and made some recommendations and gave some guidance. And so I just wanted to speak to our community for a little bit, just to let you know that certainly coronavirus is still alive and well. And we want to make sure that people are very cognizant of their activities to ensure that they're keeping other people safe, as well as themselves and their families safe. The CDC did come out with information stating that individuals that are vaccinated do not have to wear masks inside or outside. This is very exciting news that I think we should celebrate because we've been waiting for such a time as this. I also want to emphasize the importance of people continuing to wear their mask, especially if you are around school-age children. There was a CDC gave guidance on that, as well as anyone that we know have concerns for themselves personally. So I ask that people continue to, do what they can to ensure that we all remain safe. And we have on our item as number 3, a special presentation from our Johnson County Public Health, Sam Jarvis, and I'm going to move into that. So welcome, Sam.
Hey, good afternoon to everyone on the council. And again, as always, I appreciate you providing the time and space for us to provide updates. It is very exciting news. The CDC announced last week. We know that they've announced and made this decision based off of what they're seeing with vaccine safety and efficacy. And so this is good news for everyone, that vaccines are headed in a way in which we hoped, which is providing protection to those who are choosing to get vaccinated, which we hope everyone does who's eligible. And now it is every person, and that we've got at least one vaccine that is authorized for those who are 12 and older now. Which is wonderful news. To give an update on the disease side of things, in terms of COVID, we are finally within roughly less than 10 cases a day. A day that we thought would not come soon enough. Certainly, we've seen our share of triple-digit days in our community. So this is wonderful news to see this case-wise trending downward. We are seeing that average age profile continue to move down or to a younger age, which makes sense. Again, I think we've noted as of last time we provided updates, we know that the phased approach, older adults were eligible first and had the most time to be offered vaccination. And so we know that will likely continue to be the trend. In terms of vaccination, looking at the numbers today, over 2,600,000 were provided to the state, which is wonderful news. Countywide, about 156,000. In terms of series completed, roughly 75,000. So we're well on our way as a community. We are the most vaccinated county in the state, which is a great thing to be proud of. We're excited that our community continues to choose to get vaccinated and continues to make progress on that front. We are roughly about 49.5% total population vaccinated. And so that's all persons, varying ages from our youngest to oldest. Roughly about those who are eligible now, we are still hovering around 60-some%. That obviously denominator changed when those who are 12 to 15 opened up for eligibility. So that, again, that number will fluctuate as our community changes, that denominator changes. But we were very happy to see and hear that after Pfizer had announced and the FDA and ACIP approved those who are 12 and older to be vaccinated, we saw a bump in vaccinations administered in our county. So that's wonderful to hear. We knew that a lot of parents were wondering when that would happen. We know that our providers had mentioned that they were getting questions from parents, other pediatricians' offices, and things like that. So again, we're seeing a good demand in our community. Roughly, other than before the change with Pfizer, we were averaging about 150 new vaccinations a day. So pretty good rate. We hope that it stays that way. We wish we were a little bit higher, but we know that across the board that communities are seeing a lower uptake in vaccination, and we've still got a lot of work to do to promote vaccines and then provide answers and questions to those who have those still. So other than that, happy to take any questions.
For the school-age children, how accessible is the vaccine for them?
That's a great question. So, for the most part, at this point, a lot of our providers' offices have chosen to provide at least one location for their health system. A lot of pharmacies are choosing to provide those as walk-ins now. So that's wonderful to hear. And some of those have elected to have extended hours, something that we're keeping a pulse on. So in terms of access, we think fairly good at this moment. We know that there was interest in doing 16 and older before Pfizer had changed. So we, along with a lot of other community partners, our hospital partners and pharmacy partners, were able to provide on-site vaccination clinics. We inquired again when 12 and 15 were eligible, and because of the cutoff that we would not be able to finish the series within the school year, there was less interest. But we know that throughout the summer, we'll continue to message that and hope that folks be able to get vaccinated before the school year starts again. So.
Great, thank you so much. And I know messaging will be key at ensuring everybody is aware of their option now to be vaccinated. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Great. Item number 4 through 8 is our consent agenda. Could I get a motion to approve it?
So moved, Thomas.
Second, Taylor.
All right. Would anyone from the public like to address any topic within our consent agenda? If so, please raise your hand and I'll call upon you. If you're on the phone, press *9. Seeing no one, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Sully,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 9 is community comment, and this is an opportunity for anyone that want to address a topic that is not on the agenda. If you would like to do that, please raise your hand and I'll call upon you. And I'm allowing people time to raise their hand. So thank you so much. All right, I see 10 people. 12. Anyone else want to speak during this time? All right. Well, I think we will allow people to speak. We ask that you keep your comments 3 to 5 minutes, and I may have to adjust the time depending on if there's more hands that come up, but we will have a end at 7 p.m. during public comments. And I'm going to call Ken followed by Martha. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Ken Bowen. I live in Iowa City on the east side. And in commentary, I believe it is unjust, immoral, and just plain bad economics to leave workers behind in the recovery. Excluded workers deserve equality, fairness, and the same support the rest of the country received. Funding excluded workers is not only the right thing to do, it makes good economic sense. More money in the back pockets of the poorest workers means more money spent locally and circulating locally. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Martha, followed by Sarah.
Hi, Council, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thanks. So I wanted to talk to you about single family zoning. In the consent agenda this evening, there was another largely single family home development that will be on the agenda on, I believe, either June 1st or June 8th. I'm actually not intending to speak about that. I want to speak about single family zoning in general. I brought this up repeatedly, I think for 3 years, and I keep checking the agenda for action, and I keep not seeing action, and I'm having trouble understanding why. So we know there's an affordable housing crisis. We see that in the news constantly. You guys talk about affordable housing all the time. And I look at these neighborhoods going up where people are going to be building 3,000 square foot homes. That's $400,000 easy. And that's not affordable housing. I honestly don't know who can afford that housing. But if you were allowed to allow duplexes by right within those neighborhoods, at any location in said neighborhood, you can apply some design principles that make it look attractive. You can apply some parking principles, but you allow the duplexes, and that brings it down about your cost. It probably won't cut it in half, but maybe you're buying a two-family home for a two-bedroom home for $225, and you have to negotiate with the person who shares your lot. Well, I'd be willing to take that discount and negotiate with someone who shares that lot. And when you don't allow that, you have multiple consequences. So you have the affordability challenge, and there's 40 plus single family lots in this proposed development by Hickory Hill. And so you lose the affordability component. And then this particular location is really close to commerce. And so if you get more people living there, they can actually walk to meet their basic services. It's an awesome location, and you're depriving people of that. And study after study has shown that when you increase density, your energy use per square foot generally goes down, and you're using less materials and less heat and less electricity to serve more people. It makes affordability sense, it makes climate sense. And when I look at what the council's doing on climate, I applaud. I'm happy, I'm proud of the things you're doing. That's great. I'm patting you on the back for that. But you are walking slowly in the direction of climate action. And I'm looking at a tsunami that is coming towards us. And I don't think walking is going to get us out of this. We have to speed up. And so when I see these single family developments coming through without any change in the zoning, I'm like, what is going on? This is a no-brainer. Other communities have done this. This should be something Iowa City should be taking a leadership role on. And it baffles me that it hasn't happened yet. I need you to run. We all need to run for climate action. And we've seen the consequences of being slow in creating change. We need to be faster. We need to be more aggressive. We need to take more risks, because if we don't, the consequences are going to be painfully uncomfortable. So I urge you to keep these upcoming developments in mind, to aggressively ask questions about how we can change that zoning to allow duplexes, possibly even triplexes by right in every residential zone. And I think you'd be taking a big step forward, especially when you're building developments that are going to be there for 100+ years. You are locking in that development. This is your chance. Seize it while you can. Thank you.
Thank you. And I am going to ask that everybody keep their comments to 3 minutes. We still have 12 people with their hands raised, and we will end at 7 p.m. So we want to hear from everyone. Welcome, Sarah, followed by Nick. Lindsay.
Hi, Mayor and Council. This is Sarah Barron. I'm the Director of the Affordable Housing Coalition. I wanted to give everyone in the community an update about the Iowa Rent and Utility Assistance Program and the Iowa Foreclosure Prevention Programs. Right now, Johnson County residents have submitted about 2,000 applications for rent and/or utility assistance, which is fantastic. As you know, the coalition, along with our partners at Johnson County Social Services and the Coralville and North Liberty Public Libraries, as well as several area nonprofits, have been working with households to complete these applications. Although the programs have been open for over a month now, there has been a lot of frustration because the payments have not been processed yet. But I'm really glad to report that over this past week or so, local organizations have begun to process those applications, and we're looking forward to seeing those payments go out very soon now. We are really excited about the possibility here, and we're also very cautious because we know that people are still struggling to pay their basic housing costs, that both tenants and landlords have been frustrated with the process and the delays that have happened. And so we're really encouraging everyone to continue to reach out for assistance in completing the application. We're encouraging landlords to practice just a little more patience while we wait for the payments to come through, and to please communicate with us and to continue to communicate also with the state about how this assistance is needed and the impact that it's going to have on our community. If we all stay the course and stick together, we'll be able to make a big difference for renters and also property owners in the area. We're working really hard to make that happen, and with everyone's support, we will see it through. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Welcome, Nick, followed by Ann.
Thank you. This is Nick Lindsley. I'm coming as president of the Iowa City Downtown District. Just wanted to make an announcement that our annual meeting is planned for June 10th. It'll be from 5 to 7 p.m. We're still working on location. A few of the things that we'll be addressing will be the basically an annual report that reflects back on the past year, and then also talk about what we're doing to look forward in the coming year, and what we learned through the past year as well. We have new visitor data of where people are coming from to Iowa City, how that will shape our future marketing campaigns, and then we'd also like to give an update on retail recruitment progress. We'll also be highlighting survey results on different advocacy items that the district's been looking at, and as well as highlight things that the community can look for coming from the downtown district in the coming year. I just want to say this is a great opportunity for council members to get to know what's going on in the minds of those stakeholders working downtown on a daily basis, and it is open to public. Again, we'll have more details coming out, but if you have any questions that you'd like us to bring up to the business and cultural community, just let us know and we'll work that into the agenda. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Ann, followed by Nicholas. And you're on mute.
Sorry. My name is Ann Houlihan. I'm a retired nurse from University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics. I live in Coralville, but I volunteer at the Catholic Worker House in Iowa City, and I'm a dues-paying member of Iowa CCI. As a volunteer at the Catholic Worker House, I have worked with refugees who've lost their jobs during the pandemic or had their hours reduced. They were not eligible for any of the stimulus payments, which enabled other workers to keep their rents and utilities paid. They pay taxes and should be able to receive some compensation for being essential workers. I support using funds received by the American Rescue Plan to pay for an excluded workers fund. This money would go to persons excluded from other payments, including essential workers and ex-felons who are all trying to get a new start. It is not only good business, it's the right thing to do. We live in a heavily Democratic county and want to launch this initiative where we have the reputation of being for the downtrodden. What better way to demonstrate our beliefs? Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Welcome, Nicholas, followed by Kathy Lee. Son.
Good evening, Council. First of all, I would like to second the I would also like to speak in support of the Excluded Workers Fund. There's really only one thing that you should be doing with the American Rescue Plan funds, and that is it, because they have no access to any other source of relief, and it is the only right and moral thing to do. In addition to that, I'd like to comment on a few things from your work session last week, in which you once again tried to shove through City Manager Fruin's ICPD reform recommendations, where at a point where, public reaction would once again be minimized. You did it in a work session that did not have a formal meeting following it, so no one really got a chance to comment on it. And it's funny because if you look at recommendation number 35, it actually says explicitly that ICPD should be holding quote unquote listening posts. And on several occasions, you yourselves have actually noted the need for public feedback before, and I emphasize this, before implementing these reforms. In fact, you've been saying that you need public feedback for nearly 6 months now. Well, I guess it's more like 5. Sorry, number was wrong. And yet no such listening posts, no public venues for response to these recommendations have even been planned, much less implemented. Meanwhile, several of the recommendations have either already been implemented or will be shortly, which of course makes sense. The recommendations themselves already ignore the public feedback you all received in the fall. So why would you even bother getting more feedback now? It's just full steam ahead, I guess. However, at the People's Truth and Reckoning Commission meeting last Thursday, we actually provided the public the opportunity to respond that you were denying them. And it was clear there, given your penchant to forge ahead, why you wouldn't want that feedback. People were extremely upset with how the Fruin plan is trying to massively expand policing in the city by embedding police officers in each of the social service nonprofits that are supposed to function as alternatives to policing, not extensions of it. So why are you so scared of what the public want? So scared, in fact, that your city manager last week decided to sick ICPD goons on a man holding a sign outside his window because he was making Jeffrey nervous. Are you that fragile that you can't tolerate even the slightest pushback? Of course, you and I know the answer to that question. I'm actually just here to make sure other people know as well. And before I, get off, I want to note one more thing from today's work session. Councilor Mims said something about, in the past we did, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, with regard to public comment. She is in fact actually incorrect. When Mayor Throgmorton was in charge, he regularly gave people 5 minutes all the time. And in fact, in those contexts, if there were still people left over at then 8 o'clock, there is actually even a moment in your agenda, it's listed right now to this day, when public comment could be resumed. That was actually typical in the past. So it's kind of frightening to me that you're making up new rules based upon things that you only half remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Welcome, Kathy, followed by Annie.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. My name is Kathy Leeson, and I am a pediatrician here in town, and I stand by the Excluded Workers Fund. I stand by it because I know the impact of childhood poverty. I see it every day. I see the impact it has on the parents who struggle to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads, and work while also trying to bring their kids to healthcare appointments. When kids are impacted with poverty, life spirals downhill. Throughout this whole pandemic, I can see that stimulus checks have lifted childhood poverty from many of our American citizens and residents. Why not that of migrant workers? They work hard to supply all the essential stuff that our city needed, our county needed, the supply chain, right? They kept everything clean. They kept it functional for all those who are privileged to stay at home and work from home. It's our turn to pay back and support them. And as a city council, I urge you to support children and parents who were once excluded. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Welcome, Annie, followed by Patricia.
Hi, my name is Annie. I live in Iowa City. First, I'd like to say that City Council needs to better address their public comment system. To cut off public comment at 7 o'clock is confusing because you as councilors can easily allow as much time as you want for other agenda items and proclamations before that, further cutting down the amount of speakers or amount of time they're able to speak. Not everyone is able to come now that you moved this meeting an hour earlier, and don't all have all evening to wait until the end of all other agenda items to say their piece. It's unprofessional and clearly a way to dissuade constituents critical of your work. Please allow a uniform, set time for all constituents to speak for at least 3 minutes during council meetings. Next, I want to express my dissent for the city manager office's plan to restructure the Iowa City Police Department. Knowing that council has already considered this plan and has implemented several pieces of it without public input or consent is very concerning and not conducive to a democratic community. I was especially horrified by last week's council working session in which City Manager Jeff Fruin ordered the police on a peaceful protester against this plan. The Iowa City Council is a sham of a representative government that would rather further council members' own consolidation of power among the wealthy, land-owning, business-owning elite than materially support and transform the lives of those most at risk of institutional harm in our community. Please reject all tenets of the preliminary plan to restructure ICPD and accept nothing less than defunding and abolition. Also to Mr. Fruin, please resign immediately. Your blatant disrespect for constituents is horrifying and not becoming of someone that is supposed to help our town. Nobody wants you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Welcome, Patricia, followed by Dan.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Patricia Bowen, and I'm a retiree, and I live in Iowa City. And I am calling, speaking tonight and I agree with the previous speakers on the Excluded Workers Fund. I just won't even reiterate what other people have said because what they have said has been exactly what words I would say. But I also want to say that a lot of people out here understand about the guidance, and it's absolutely clear that the American Rescue Plan money can and should be used to provide direct cash payments to these excluded workers and hazard pay for low-wage essential workers. We asked them to do so much for us in the beginning of this pandemic, and they don't have any other way to sustain themselves. And it's like someone else said, it's a moral thing that we need to pay attention to if we are really going to call ourselves a community. It's just the right thing to do, and it will also make good economic sense. They will spend that money in this community. We don't need more homeless people getting pushed out of their homes if they are like 4 months behind in their rent. The other thing is I am concerned about what a couple other people have said earlier about listening posts and asking the city to talk about just different issues. If you aren't having listening posts for them, and I know you've been asked for listening posts, town halls, or some way to communicate with the public about this art money, I am concerned it's not going to happen. But we will be staying on top of this, and you will be hearing from a group of people every council meeting until you get those public meetings out there, because we're asking for them and you represent us. And this is what we're here for, is to have you represent us and listen to us and give us that ability to speak in whatever way, shape, or form that might be. I was on the work session today too, and I know you talked about a listening post and speak outs or a portal. Not everybody that needs this excluded worker fund will have a computer to be able to do this. So bear that in mind too. But anyway, other states have done this: California, Colorado, New York, and New Jersey. So please contact those states for how they've done it. And if it needs to be done through nonprofit organizations or churches, so be it. Let those people, let those organizations that are qualified and know how to do this work get that money in the hands of people that need it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Welcome, Dan, followed by Taylor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Good evening to everyone except you, City Manager Jeffrey Fruin. I'd like to begin by expressing my support for the creation of an excluded workers fund. It's concerning that council is looking to utilize funds from the ARP in ways that will be less productive for the community than they would be under this proposal. About this time last week, I was rotting in a dirty jail cell because Jeffrey Fruin is a fascist snowflake who sets armed police officers on friendly demonstrators. At the council work session last week, I peacefully and politely demonstrated outside of the windows of City Manager Jeffrey Fruin's office. When the city employee asked me to move to the sidewalk, I went without question. I wasn't even holding up a sign when I was later approached by 3 ICPD officers who said that they had been sent not because I was breaking the law, but because my presence made Jeffrey, quote, nervous. That was really surprising since Jeffrey hadn't even turned to look at me while I was by his office. If he had, I would have just smiled and waved. This was a clear reaction on the part of Jeffrey and the ICPD, and there was no reason for police intervention at all. After making sure I wasn't going to do any further demonstrating that day, the cops said I was free to go. One, however, had been giving me a stink eye throughout the entire interaction, and he went back to his squad car to run my name and license plates. What came up was a warrant that he arrested me for, stemming from a protest at the end of last summer when I got swarmed by ICPD officers as I was headed back home. Most of them jumped out of an unmarked white van and none of them were wearing a mask, which, keep in mind, this was August 31st, days before Iowa City was on the front page of the New York Times as a global COVID hotspot. Gross. They forced me to give my name and said that there would probably be a warrant out for my arrest. They accused me of damaging an Iowa State Patrol car, which was untrue since no damage was done to cars that night. They released me from being detained with a sergeant saying he'd give me a call when a warrant was issued. No call ever came, and I thought they'd just been trying to intimidate me since they did that to other protesters this summer. This belief was strengthened when I got into a traffic accident last month in Coralville and the responding officer ran my information without mentioning the warrant. Anyways, flash forward to my arrest last Tuesday. The State Patrol are bad actors for reasons that I could elaborate on for hours, but the ICPD should have no relations with them at all. As I was being arrested last Tuesday, I saw City Manager Jeffrey Fruin give the officers a thumbs up before rejoining your work session. The circumstances around my warrant, detention, and arrest last Tuesday are sketchy as hell, but that just took the cake. Jeffrey, you've talked about how your plan is to restructure the department into more of a community policing model. The fact that you set armed officers upon a peaceful demonstrator who wasn't even demonstrating at that time just shows how awful your personal beliefs about policing are. Furthermore, I think that disqualifies you from having any kind of meaningful opinion about how to improve these issues professionally. Someone who treats the police department like his own personal Gestapo cannot be trusted with implementing meaningful change.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome, Taylor, followed by Bailey.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. First of all, the city needs to prioritize our neighbors who have been left behind. You've clearly seen the public support for the Excluded Workers Fund. I wholeheartedly stand with the many people who've spoken about this. The money should go to them. I wanted to address the Fruin plan and your discussion of abolition last week. Some of you made this point, and you're right. You can't say that abolition is just reduction, but reduction is also not what Fruin's plan is, by the way. Fruin's plan expands the police and makes sure the community will encounter the police more and more organizations within the community. It means there are fewer resources available to people where they can get help without interacting with a cop. And Councilors Taylor, Mims, and Mayor Teague, your continued insistence that we need police is frankly ignorant. I sympathize that the police are all you've known and it scares you to imagine them gone, but at this point there's been plenty of time for you all to do the reading beyond the dictionary definition of abolition about what could fill the void of police, because people, especially Black women, have been doing this work for decades, and luckily we don't have to start from scratch when we're imagining how to build systems that actually protect us. There's nothing to lose because right now, however it may feel to you, we are unprotected. ICPD do not protect us. ICPD arrest us on contrived charges to punish us for using our First Amendment rights. Dan Cobble is only the most recent example that I know of. ICPD surveil and target us. ICPD harass our homeless neighbors. ICPD wrongfully arrested Chris Kelly, who lost 8 months of his life to their racist power trip. None of these things are anomalies. This is what police set out to do. We do not need them. I've lived here and worked in the community for 4 years, and I have never seen or heard of an encounter with the police where they helped anyone in the community, much less experienced one myself, but have seen and heard of plenty of instances when they have created an unsafe situation or made an unsafe situation worse. The support they are supposed to provide should be provided by people who are not police and not associated or partnered with police also. The human cost of what little work you seem to think ICPD is doing effectively in this community, which they're not, is needless, and it's shameful that we accept it. I also have heard a great deal of this narrative about Iowa City being better than other places, a lot of backpatting about how much better our cops here than other places in the US, and that absolutely isn't the case. Iowa City is only better aesthetically. ICPD is not better than other police departments just because its cruelty and injustice is less high profile. I am especially disgusted with City Manager Fruin, who no one in the city voted for, but who gets to feed the city a plan to hand the police more power at the same time he sets them loose on members of the public from his office chair. Fruin's quote unquote restructuring plan is unacceptable. Defund the police. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. Welcome, Bailey, followed by David. And I also want to make mention that if you've already spoke during this time, to lower your hand. I just want to remind people. So if you've already spoken, please lower your hand. Welcome, Bailey.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Bailey. My pronouns are she, her, and I would like to reiterate a lot of things that have already been said tonight. First and foremost, cutting the speaking time down. I've been going to city council meetings for I don't know how long, but this is just a conversation that it's trying to be passed off as like something that is common sense, but it has been it's recent. As far as I know of, it seems as the more people are disagreeing, the more people that are showing up and using their voices, which is what city council meetings are for. We have been met with threats that we will get less time to speak. And yeah, I just, it's not surprising. And I would just like to say it's very clear what is happening here. I would also like to speak in support of the Excluded Workers Fund. As our federal, state, and local governments are moving past COVID, lifting mask mandates, etc., we cannot leave people behind. And this needs to be said again and again. As someone said earlier, the housing prices in Iowa City are shooting upwards. And this seems like the least we can do is to actually give this money to people that need it and use it and will keep spend money in our community and keep them and their families safe and healthy. I would also like to speak about Fruin's plan to restructure the police, aka expand the police. I've said this before, many have said it, but linking the police with local nonprofits is something that I have not heard much support of at all. As Taylor said, Fruin was not elected by the city, and I just can't see how, if you guys are doing the work and doing research and actually trying to inform yourselves on the things that are coming up over and over again in these meetings, that this is not the answer and will not keep our community safer, and it is not wanted. And the last thing I would like to say is it was made abundantly clear in the last week how the council does not understand the ideas of abolition. As Taylor said, these ideas are not new. There's plenty of work out there, and it just seems that instead of actually informing yourselves and trying to do what is best for your community, trying to include everyone's voices and trying to understand an idea that is being pushed by many people right now, that you clearly have not done the work besides Googling some basic definitions. And yeah, it's very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, David, followed by Char.
Thank you, Mayor Teague and Council. The United States, India, and Israel are most definitely the most deeply racist countries on earth. But the US stands out particularly, in my humble opinion, because we're the richest by far. We could take care of the poorest and neediest folks among us, but we don't. So I'm fully agreeable with what past speakers have said about regarding ERP money. It does need to be targeted to the most disadvantaged in our community, the people who need it the most. They should be the top priority. I also want to speak to the policing and Mr. Fruin in particular. I'm an old codger. I went to school here at the University of Iowa from 1966 to 70 during the American War in Vietnam. And there was plenty of crazy police work in those days. They were clubbing people with batons, mace, all kinds of things. The same thing goes on. You know, it hasn't changed much in 50 years. But it's got to stop. This town should be a lot more progressive with its leaders. And Mr. Fruin he just doesn't match up to what we should have in this town. So I'm fully in favor of getting rid of him if possible. The sooner the better. And I think we have to have a lot more conversations about what goes on in policing in this town, because I don't think it's changed a lot since the 60s when I was here first. I've spent most of my life in Iowa City, and there have been some good times and enough bad ones to make me feel like we got to keep pushing. So I appreciate what Annie said and Dan's story and people who've spoken before. I add my displeasure with Mr. Fruin. I think it's our top priority. But in terms of the funds, it needs to go to the neediest people for sure. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, David. Welcome, Char. And you're on mute.
Thank you. Iowa City needs to fund excluded workers. Excluded workers have lost wages, problems with how to handle children at home without the internet. They have increased problems with transportation, with buses being shut down earlier. Excluded workers need access to COVID relief. They have the same problems as the rest of us. We are all in this together. They need our help. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Tom.
This is Joan. Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right. It's both of us. Thank you for your time. I agree with the people who are supporting the excluded worker fund through the ARP money. That money was sent through the federal government to come down to our communities to help the neediest people. So I also would recommend that we follow whatever systems that successful states have been finding in a way that can be in the pockets of people that really need it. The people that are, and I'm a supporter of Catholic Worker House and a member of CCI. Last night we heard of a few people that were representing thousands of left behind workers. They are 4 months behind on rent, and each month that they're behind, they also add another $100 fees. So that's incredible. Even if they start working now, they won't be able to get enough money to pay their back bills. And that was what President Biden was targeting to do. So please focus on the excluded workers. And thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Welcome, Dulce.
Hi, my name is Dulce. I use they, them, theirs pronouns. I've grown up in Iowa City and I continue to live here while being a student at the University of Iowa. A lot of the people that I care about, who I call my family, live here as well. And we're the people that have kept Iowa City going for the past year and a half. A lot of my family works in restaurants, just around food, around a lot of people. Recently, most of my family had COVID, and that was really stressful for everyone involved. So I wanted to share a little bit of that and say to please support this Excluded Workers Fund, as many of the folks of the public are speaking out in support of tonight. And we spoke out in support of it last week too. And I also wanted to just quickly say that I'm really disappointed in this proposal for policing. It's exactly the opposite of what we've been demanding for the past year. We want less police in Iowa City because they are not keeping us safe. We don't want them to just be interwoven into nonprofits that are already existing. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address this time, address council at this time? If you're on the phone, press *9. Welcome, Alina.
Hi, thank you. I want to say my support for the Excluded Workers Fund, definitely for removing Jeff Fruin. I do not like the way that he's behaving in regard to to the people in Iowa City. And I just want to say that I'm kind of fed up with the way that people of color are treated in their interactions with the police here. And it's time to put the safety of BIPOC people in Iowa City on a pedestal. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address us at this time? Say anything publicly? Seeing no one, we're going to move on to item number 10, which is 10A is zoning code amendment related to single family site development standards. This is an ordinance amending Title 14, zoning of the Iowa City Code related to single family site development standards. I'm going to open the public hearing. Staff presentation, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Danielle Sitzman, Neighborhood Development Services. We'll walk you through this request with a little bit of background. In 2019, the city adopted the code that's the subject of this agenda item tonight that restricts paving in the front setback area for single-family homes. It was the last of several code changes that were enacted, as you can see on this slide here, highlighted in yellow, over the course of several months, and in response to the state's repeal of some previous zoning tools that the city had used, including the definition of family, and as that relates to the occupancy of structures, and also a rental permit cap system that the city had adopted. So this was the last of, as I said, several efforts the city undertook to find new tools to continue to protect neighborhoods and to make investments in neighborhood stabilization. The purpose of the amendment was to help with neighborhood stabilization, but as staff has learned a couple of things since the adoption, it has generated this request that's before you tonight. First, the amendments in 2018, which are at the top of this slide, were fairly comprehensive and really did help to address concerns related to neighborhood stabilization. Second, what we've learned is that since the adoption of this specific amendment, we've determined that it's really not functioning effectively for us in the way that we had initially intended, and it's had some unnecessary and harmful effects on other parts of the city. So therefore, staff is requesting the proposed change tonight. Just to walk you through a little bit of what the amendment is, this slide shows what the code was on the left-hand side prior to 2019, and then on the right-hand side, what in 2019 was changed. Essentially, what we're requesting is to roll back some of the additional stipulations that were placed on front yard paving. The next couple slides are more of a visual representation of the impact that this has had and how this code plays out on the ground. These slides show a typical single-family home looked down at from above. The house is outlined in green. The driveway would be the area in green labeled with numbers. The front setback is a regulation that zoning applies where nothing is usually allowed in a front yard. So front setback is typically a front yard. That's the blue box shown there. And the dark black line would be where the house is in relationship to that setback area. So this shows where the conditions were before the code was adopted in 2019. Formerly, the code had allowed parking in front setback areas with certain restrictions. However, it also allowed paving in the front yard for other things like patios and seating areas, basketball courts, grilling areas, and other things. The problem was, though, that sometimes parking wasn't allowed also in those areas, but because it looked like parking, people tended to park on it illegally. So we were struggling with an enforcement issue where we really didn't want bad behavior occurring, and we're trying to address the design to kind of forego that occurring. So the code that was amended in 2019 said, okay, those front yard paving areas would still be allowed, but they had to be separated from where a car would typically be so that it wouldn't be enticing to park on. What we've learned though is that while that might have been the intent, it actually blocked other types of parking that were perfectly fine from being designed. So in the case of this slide, parking along the side of the house would be okay, and there would be a way to get to it that you could drive across. So what we're really asking for is to address this condition, which would be perfectly fine, but the ordinance that we adopted was blocking from occurring. So our analysis has been that really in the 1.5 years since we adopted this code change, it really hasn't worked out the way we intended. Staff has received multiple reasonable requests from homeowners who do have the room to pave to perfectly acceptable areas to park, who live outside the core of the community. We estimate there's at least 10 or 15 requests every year that have come in for reasonable requests that we haven't been able to allow. At this point, we've determined that there's been unintended effects of promoting what we thought was a reasonable thing, and we're requesting that we walk back from this particular amendment that was adopted in 2019. I'm happy to answer questions. I will say that this is coming to you with a recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission of a 7-0 vote at their May 6th meeting.
All right, here are no questions. Would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand and I'll call upon you. Seeing no one, I want to ask council if they're inclined to support the P&Z. Okay, all right, great. I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to give first consideration?
So moved, Thomas.
Second.
Moved by Thomas, seconded by Burgess. Council discussion? I do think it's reasonable. It seems like something that we thought would kind of help preserve some of the parking that was probably not appropriate from a lot of vantage points, except I will say that even moving back to this code, there is still some code that your building has to be so far away and there has to be green space. So we are still not getting from some of the codes. So that I'm comfortable supporting this tonight.
Yeah, I would just add that, this was well-intentioned. At the same time, what my observation is oftentimes conditions in Iowa City, when you try to apply a one-size-fits-all remedy, it can be problematic. And, different parts of Iowa City, the lot sizes are different. Lots of factors come into play as to why this might have been arguably is a concern in certain neighborhoods, is not a concern in others. So, kind of looking at things at a more detailed level, if it's possible for us to develop code and ordinances which have a more perhaps limited application, that may be something to consider in the future.
Hearing no more comments, roll call, please.
Mims?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. 10B, zoning code amendment, non-conforming drinking establishments. Ordinance to amend Title 14 zoning regarding non-conforming drinking establishments in a historic overlay district, zone and vacant for at least 2 years. This is second consideration and staff is requesting expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring that ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
All right. And would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand and I'll call upon you. If you're on the phone, please press *9. Seeing no one, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Salee,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved.
Moved by Salee, seconded by Mims. Roll call, please.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Salee.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11, fiscal year 2021 budget amendment public hearing. This is the resolution amending the current budget for fiscal year ending June 2021. I'm going to open the public hearing and I'm going to welcome staff.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Flegel, Budget and Compliance Officer. My screen here. This is the third budget amendment of fiscal year 2021. Just a quick overview first of the budget process. The original budget for fiscal year 2021 was approved in March of 2020. It runs through from July 1st of 2020 to July 30th of 2021. There were previous amendments done in September of 2020 and then this past March along with the last budget. City policy allows for amendments in the following situations: emergent situations, transfer of contingencies, expenditures with offsetting revenue or fund balance, and carryover of prior year budget authority. On average, we do about 3 budget amendments each fiscal year, typically in the fall, the spring, and then early summer. We can amend any time other than the last 30 days of the fiscal year. And given that this is the third and final amendment for fiscal year 2021. This budget amendment includes amendments related to FEMA and other federal grants for COVID-19 pandemic expenditures and revenues and the derecho storm as well, fire station land purchases, police policy software, and then a few other small amendment items that are included in the line item detail attached to the agenda item. Looking at the state forums in the different areas, intergovernmental revenues was the largest increase on the revenue side for just over $1.3 million, which would include FEMA derecho grants and then COVID-19 grants. And then also transfers in were for $425,000, which includes funds for a fire station land purchase. On the expenditure side, the largest increase for the amendment is in capital projects for the $993,000. This is for the 2 fire station land purchases. The next largest being transfers out, which is just the other side of the transfer in we saw earlier for one of those fire station land purchases. And then the third largest increase in program area is public works, which includes storm expenditures and COVID grant expenditures. In conclusion, this is the third and final budget amendment for fiscal year 2021. The overall impact to fund balance was a decrease of $104,904, and it's covered through excess fund balances and bonds and will not affect property tax levies. Take any questions?
All right, hearing no questions. Would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, press *9, please. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Moved by Solly, seconded by Weiner. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Teague,
Yes?
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Solly,
Yes.
Taylor.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 12, 2021 water pavement patching. Resolution approving project manual and estimate of cost for the construction of the 2021 water pavement patching project. Establish an amount of bid security to accompany each bid, directing city clerk to post notice to bidders, and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing. And staff presentation, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I don't have a presentation, but just wanted to give you a brief overview of the project. As many of you are aware, this is an annual project we do to make repairs at water main break sites, to repair pavement, that be street paving, sidewalk, that kind of stuff. Typically, when we have a water main break, water staff will go out there, they'll dig down to the main, make their repair. A lot of times when they do that, they'll have to remove some street pavement or sidewalk or driveways, anything along those lines. And then once they're done with the repair, they'll backfill that and get it to basically a minimum level of repair so that it's usable. A lot of times you'll see street patches that are rock or that kind of thing that were meant for the permanent repairs to happen at a later date. So we have this project. It's an attempt to get kind of an economy of scale to make those repairs to a number of sites for main breaks that have happened throughout the year. This project will include sites where we've had main breaks basically from last winter through the spring. And then we also recognize that we will have main breaks that will likely occur later this year, both the summer and the fall. And so what we typically will do is add those sites by change order to take or to make those repairs yet this year. So again, kind of an annual project to make those repairs, but more than happy to open it up for questions.
No questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, press *9. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Thomas.
Second, Mims.
All right. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Solly,
Yes.
Taylor, Teague.
Yes. It passes 7-0. Item number 13 is CPRB Ordinance. Ordinance amending Title 8 entitled Police Regulations, Chapter 8 entitled Community Police Review Board to lengthen the time period to file a complaint and to allow the complainant to respond to the police chief's report. This is second consideration and staff is requesting expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring the ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed, be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second, Taylor.
All right, would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand. On the phone, press *9 and I'll call upon you. Seeing no one, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Solly,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved, Weiner.
Moved by Weiner, seconded by Thomas. Roll call, please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Solly,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item 14, park hours. Ordinance amending Title 10 entitled Public Ways and Property, Chapter 9 entitled Parks and Recreation Regulations to make park closure hours uniform. This is first consideration. Could I get a motion, please?
Move, Saleh.
Second, Burgess.
All right, and presentation by our Julie Seidel-Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Julie Seidel-Johnson, Director of Parks and Recreation. This item is essentially a cleanup of the ordinance. We had staff go out through our parks and realize that we have numerous different signs, all saying different things about when parks open and close. So this item was taken to the Parks and Rec Commission, asking them to give us a more uniform opening and closing, which would be dawn to dusk, except for the 3 parks nearest downtown, which remain open all night. And this will just make signage and enforcement easier and more consistent throughout the system. It's really a cleanup of the ordinance.
All right, any questions for Julie?
I just wanted to ask Julie on College Green, which is kind of unlike, I would say, Black Hawk Mini Park and Chauncey Swan Park, more in some respects a neighborhood park. It's near the downtown, but it's surrounded by residential. Will this have you had any issues with use of the park? I understand it will receive pedestrian traffic just because of the way it's you know, the pathways relate to the sidewalks, but what's happening there in terms of actual activity? Is there any issues with that?
There have not been. That's a good question, but it is a primary transportation route for a lot of students that walk back and forth. It's been something that we've often been asked to leave the lights on for safety reasons. And I would say for the last 2 or 3 years, the lights have been on through the night. And I'm not aware of any issues that that's caused.
Thanks. We have the same thing, by the way, at North Market Square. It's people, because of the way the walks are laid out with the streets, there are people walking through that park all the time. But I'm not aware of any issues with the actual activities that might take place after hours.
Okay. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand. On the phone, press *9. Seeing no one. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Mims,
Yes.
Solly,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 15, South District Program Purchase of 8 duplexes. Resolution approving a purchase agreement for 8 duplex properties for the South District Home Investment Partnership Program. Motion, can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Mims.
Second, Saleh.
All right, and welcome, Tracy.
Hello, I'm Tracy Heishi with Neighborhood Development Services. Many of you are familiar with the South District program. We have the opportunity to buy 8 additional duplexes. For those not familiar with the program, this is where we have targeted the Taylor and Davis Street neighborhoods. We buy a duplex, we renovate it, we then make it into a condominium and we sell it to an area resident as affordable home ownership. Typically, the amount that we can sell it at is far below so far the fair market rents or the existing rents in the neighborhood. I'm going to share my screen to begin the PowerPoint. And if you can see it, just nod your head. Okay. Okay. I'm just going to start off with the map of the area. As you're familiar, this is an area that has a high concentration of rental units. You can see the rental units are in yellow, the owner occupied is in gray. This map was done about 2 years ago. You might have some slight tweaks in it now, but it should probably be about the same. The 3 duplexes that you see in blue, those are acquired. Out of those 6 units, there's 3 duplexes. We've renovated and sold 3 duplexes. We have 1 available for sale now, and the last one that we have, it's being renovated now. The proposed acquisition are the 8 duplexes that you see in that the peach, I'm going to call it peach color. So those are the 8 properties that we propose to acquire for the program. I have the addresses listed right here. We signed a purchase agreement with the owner, is at 1.52 million. This is about 95,000 per home. This is more, it's more expensive than the previous 2 duplexes we purchased, because one was purchased in foreclosure and the other, each side of the unit had fire damage. So we expected that we would have to pay more to get additional properties. The process for this is going to follow. It might take a while. It might take several years to implement. We'll continue to rent to the existing tenants. 15 of the 16 homes are occupied. We will honor the leases with existing tenants. No one will be forced to leave. City staff and outside maintenance company will manage the units. As tenants voluntarily vacate the units, we'll move to rehabilitate the units. And then once renovated, it'll be sold to income eligible home buyers. And our preference is always those currently living in the neighborhood would have the first chance to purchase. The 8 duplexes here, the first 4, just for a view, these are all, as you see, on Taylor or Davis streets. That is the second set of duplexes. Just an example of what we do. This is the first duplex that we did on Sandusky. So we have a couple pictures of the before, the exterior and the interior, and then after what that program looked like. And the 2 buyers for this one had lived on Taylor for, I think, a combined total of 21 years before they bought their first home. So that was a great project. Those 2 home buyers are in the units right now. And just an example of how the financing works for the people that are interested in buying the homes in the South District. So we had, like I said, we paid a little bit more for these just because they weren't in foreclosure, they were not fire damage. So we paid $95,000. We will invest approximately $35,000 into the property. Typically, you have carrying costs. So from the time we start renovation, we're paying property taxes, insurance, we're maintaining the property, yard maintenance. So we have all those things. And sometimes, like in the last units, we converted a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom. So sometimes we have more than 35,000. So I'm just going to estimate that we put 10,000. So the total sales price would be about 140,000 to the buyer. So that translates to homeowner costs. So you add the closing cost. Then that 35,000 we invested, that's a forgivable loan. So it's not part of the financing that they need. And that's forgiven over 10 years. So each year that they stay in that property, more money comes out, it reduces that lien. We provide up to 25,000 in home down payment assistance. These are with our home money that we get through the federal Housing and Urban Development Department. So the homeowner would need to finance 83,000 to acquire one of these units. You're looking at various financing, but basically on a 30-year fixed loan, that homeowner's paying about $600 per month for mortgage, insurance, and taxes, which is probably less than what they rent these for now. To purchase, to come up with a 1.52 million initial acquisition costs, we're proposing to take that from the tailwinds. As you know, it was a tax increment financing project. The residential development chose to pay a fee in lieu. It was approximately 1.8 million. So we propose to use those funds to acquire these properties. As we sell these properties, we get that money coming back. So those funds, as we sell them, just the acquisition costs come back, and we replenish the affordable housing fund to create other affordable housing opportunities. The rehab, which is about 30 to 35,000 per home, that we have to fund each year. That is a forgivable lien to the homeowner. So we can finance it through our CDBG home funds, our general fund allocation, or the affordable housing fund. And like I said, that down payment assistance comes from our home funds. So this year we're having a mid-year funding allocation, probably in August, September. So we'll be coming back to you for an application for 100,000. That'll be up to 4 homes. We have to stagger those because home does have, you have to spend that money in a certain time frame. So we'll keep coming back year after year if we need more additional funds for the down payment assistance for these 16 units. we've grown in partnerships as this program is involved. This most recent one that's under renovation now, we are partnering with the Home Builders Vocational Training Council, Kirkwood, and the school district. Students are working at basically a student-built house. They're building the sheds and they're assisting with the remodel. We're also partnering with our climate action staff to incorporate sustainable measures and to make sure that it's a lower utility cost for owners. For this home, we partnered with Backyard Abundance to do a landscaping plan to utilize shade and a rain garden. And then we're using our Green Iowa AmeriCorps to do the installation. We will also continue to partner with Horizons to do the financial home buyer counseling. This is a requirement of the home program. It's also a requirement of the home program that for the down payment assistance, the buyer has to be below 80% of median income. So all 16 of these homes will be for low to moderate income persons. We mailed a letter when we had a signed purchase agreement that's subject to council approval. We mailed a letter to the 15 tenants that might be impacted. We explained that tonight we're having the meeting. If approved, the purchase would be honored near July 30th. That will continue to honor their lease. We informed them what they need to do if they're interested in home ownership, who to contact at the city to discuss, and just the general contact information. And then if you guys decide to proceed, we'll send them another letter that gives them the follow-up regarding leasing concerns, who to make rent payments to, and maintenance requests once we purchase the property. Upon completing the 16 homes, we'll make an investment of over $770,000 in rehabilitation and $550,000 in down payment assistance. When we started this program, there's about 11% of the units that were owner occupied. Upon completion of this project, that brings it up to 22%. In our original equity analysis, we limited the rental conversions to no more than 35% of the total homes because we wanted to make sure there's still affordable rental opportunities. So once this project is complete, and it'll take multiple years to complete, we'll need to determine if we decide to continue the program. If we purchase additional homes in this neighborhood or expand it to other neighborhoods. So I'm ready to take, if you have any questions, I can take those right now. And I'll stop the slideshow.
I have a question. Regarding, sorry.
Go ahead, John.
Okay. Were these homes, these duplexes, always primarily rental?
We believe so. They're taxed as a duplex property, so I don't believe they're ever made into condominiums and sold individually. So they're most likely been rental.
Oh, okay. Hey, Tracy, thank you for that presentation. As you know, I've always voiced my support for this program. I think it's a wonderful program for that South District, and if it can expand throughout the city, that'd be great too. I continue to wish it success. And you mentioned the word condominium just now, and I just had a quick question about that. The resolution doesn't say that word, but in the executive summary, it does say convert them to 2-unit condominiums. And I know that's not your intent. Was that, I'm not a real estate, I'm not knowledgeable about those kinds of terms, but it doesn't have a different meaning than duplex. Was that just is that meant to say condominium?
Maybe I'll weigh in here. The only way to sell one of the units is to make them into a condo. So that's why you have to condominiumize them in order to sell them separately. Otherwise, you're selling the duplex. You have to sell both units. So.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, and I just want to make one other comment. Tracy talked about the approximate monthly payment with taxes, insurance, and the mortgage. I've got a copy of all the leases, and the lowest lease is $650. That's just one unit. Then the next cheapest one is $750. So you can see, and it ranges all the way up to over $1,000. So at $600, it's certainly cheaper than any of the folks are paying for rent right now.
Just to what Pauline said about condominium, what that's supposed to mean, is because I hear it all the time about something called condo fee or something like that. Is that means there is some kind of fee associated with this for the homeowner to pay, or just a name?
Sure. In many condominiums, there might be 15 units as part of the condominium, and they all get together and pay to remove the snow or to keep up the landscaping. Here, it's just a 2-unit condo. And so the reality is they're probably not going to get together and assess themselves to take care of the yard work or the snow removal. You know, one person will take care of one side and one person will take care of the other. So
Okay, just like a regular duplex, everybody clean their snow and do their lawn. Yeah,
that's how it will play out. Yes, and practically yes.
That's a consideration, just how how the condo's configured. We try to incorporate all the sustainability measures as we can. When we have that ranch layout where it's half and half, it's easier for us to put like solar panels on the roof. But when you have the condos that are up, down, stacked, and that's harder for us to do solar panels because of that ownership of the roof. So, so you'll see what sustainability measures that we do based on the configuration of the duplex.
Tracy, if we have, as you said, I think 15 of the 16 are now occupied. If we have individuals who want to purchase, have we started giving any thought to how we could work with them in terms of temporary housing so we could get them out, so we could renovate their unit, and then if they wanted to buy that unit, and would we give them first choice on that unit? How are we looking at that?
We would work with them if they want to purchase their own unit or they want to purchase a unit in the program. Yes, we would work with them, and that we hope that when we're renovating their unit, hopefully we have another opening so we can, we can pay for the relocation of the cost to go in that other open unit while we're working on their unit. So we'll try to work with the homeowner as best we can. So we might not have the funds. So we might have 4 vacant units and we might only have the funds that year to do 2. So then we'd have 2 that we could work with and move people around. So our plans are, once it's vacated, we're not going to release it. But if we had to use that unit to work with somebody to rehab their unit, that we would.
Okay, thank you.
You said how many vacant?
Just 1 right now. So
Okay,
15 of the 16 are occupied. We did meet with the South District, what do you call it? The Neighborhood Association, the management team. Oh, Jeff, what day was that? Thursday. So we talked, 3 of the management team came and we talked about the program. We didn't hear any concerns. We did hear that they'd help us maybe market the program. So that area residents and that map that I showed you, we consider that the area, the neighborhood residents that would be eligible, and we give first preference to buying the properties. We don't list these on the MLS. We are work with just trying to get residents in that area to apply. And when they apply, they go through the home buyer, all the applicants. So let's say there's some credit issues or any other issues that bar them from getting a loan. Hopefully they're working on that. So we have 16 homes coming. So if they use 1 or 2 years to work on credit repair or whatever might be a problem, hopefully by the time this program ends, a home becomes available and they're able to finance and move into that home. And we do pay for that. So there's initial charge and we reimburse them through a different pot of money through the housing authority because everybody has to be below 80% of median income. So when they apply, we're having them go through the home horizons for that home buyer counseling.
Hearing no more questions. All right, thank you. Would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand. If you're on the phone, press *9 and I'll call upon you. Welcome, Megan.
Sorry, it took me a moment. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Hi. My name is Megan Alter, and I am a South District resident. One of the people who was part of the meeting that Tracy just alluded to on Thursday. So I am a member of the South District Neighborhood Association, and I'm also a member of the Housing and Community Development Commission. And I just wanted to put in my support for this program. The leaps and bounds and the expansion of what the city understands its role can be and should be in this program has grown enormously since I've been actually on the HCDC when this was first a pilot program. And so I do commend the city for this because it's getting at some real root causes of a lot of additional considerations, to put it euphemistically. So basically, it's exciting to see that there are opportunities for residents to become homeowners in this area. I live around the corner. And this is huge. It's a real opportunity, and I really encourage the city to see this as obviously we have to see this through, but it is potentially a real success story because it's really addressing how do we help some root causes? How do we help people turn their homes into equity and thus help themselves, their kids, and really have that much more of a stake in the neighborhood in ways that rentership doesn't allow. I say that with some caution because on Taylor and Sandusky and Davis, there are long-term renters, and this is their home. This is our neighborhood. Sorry, I have a bird in my shoulder. She agrees. But the bottom line is that this is another way for people to have a further investment in economic terms, but also in terms of investment about how to build up our neighborhoods. And so I just want to end by saying this is a really good program. It has grown in terms of its vision and its comfort with Iowa City being landlords in perpetuity. I think it's really incredibly important that all tenants understand that they're not going to be moved out. And so I just encourage you all to keep that in place, and then build this up. And there are many other places in Iowa City that could really benefit from this type of project. And I'm just glad to see it happen because this is, rather than a Band-Aid, I really see this as starting to address some root causes about how to help with equity and prosperity among the entire city. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? If so, please raise your hand and I'll call upon you. *9 on the phone. Seeing no one, council discussion.
I really like these programs, and thank you for the staff, Tracy and your team. They really did great job on doing, like, continue the program, even though we started by only one and wasn't even sure that if there's something gonna go forward, but I really like the way that you guys continue doing this. And I would like to see this more in different area of the city so we can help people just own their house even and be an affordable. I guess $600, that's amazing for somebody to live in their own house and just pay $600. Great programs, good work, but this is not enough. I'm gonna say it again and again. We need to think about big pictures. We need to have like more affordable housing, and just continue with the plan, but step moving forward. Great job. Thank you.
Yeah, I too think of this as a really excellent program. In addition to what's been said, I think, the partnerships that Tracy described in her presentation are an important piece of this. Another piece that I looked at today was the assessed values of these duplexes. I was kind of interested to see how they, what they assessed at on a per acre basis. And I looked at 1232-34 Sandusky. That's one of the units that's been improved. And I found it very interesting. These are pretty potent properties in terms of their property value or assessed value per acre. It's oftentimes, we look at these properties like this and think, they can't be generating much in taxes, but in fact, on a per acre basis, they're really quite potent. I tried applying, I didn't know what on that 123234 property, what the values were for each unit. What I saw on the assessor's website was the value of one, and I assumed the other was of equal value. But in using that, making that assumption, what I learned was the value per acre of that particular duplex is around $1.69 million per acre. It's just a very efficient land use, very small lots for 2 units. And I'd encourage all the council to compare the value of their property to this one and see how it compares.
Well, I'm really excited to see this and to think that where we started quite a number of years ago was with the University program, which we were looking to try and renovate some older homes near downtown to make them affordable and get those into ownership hands and out of rental, to now having expanded this to, a totally different part of the city where we can really help balance some of the rental ownership issues and give people who would probably never have an ownership opportunity to give them that opportunity, and at an incredibly affordable rate. So I'm just really excited. I know when staff first brought this to us, concerned about the number of units, and I'm really glad that council decided we were willing to take that risk with 16 units and be able to help people in this area. And I mean, I think we've just done it right. We're not going to move anybody out. Have the opportunity, hopefully, to do some renovation for people by temporarily moving them out if that's what they want. And so look forward to seeing these renovations and sales over the next few years. It's a great opportunity.
I agree with everything my colleagues have said. I'm just super excited to see this program expanding. I remember watching the council meetings before I got to be here and seeing this program get started and how exciting it is for that neighborhood. So incredibly grateful that we've stuck with it and had this opportunity to expand the program so significantly all at once. It's great.
Ditto as well. And I know that this will create some generational wealth for some of these individuals. And so this is great. All right. Are we ready to vote on this? I think we are. Roll call, please.
Sully,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 16 is council appointments. 16A is, before I go there, applicants must reside in Iowa City and be 18 years of age unless specific qualifications are stated. 16A is airport commission. And I think how we might do this is I'm going to kind of list all the appointments first, and then although there are a lot of appointments, should we just go through each one separately? There are a lot of appointments. Yeah, so I'm going to go with 16A, Airport Commission. Airport Commission, there's one vacancy to fill a 4-year term, July 1st through 2021, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2025. And there is one vacancy here, and there is no gender balance.
I would support Chris Lawrence. He's in his first term. We often reappoint. We do not have to reappoint. That's up to us. But he certainly had a letter of recommendation from, I believe it's the current chair of the board, strongly encouraging us to recommend to reappoint him and the skill sets he brings. So I would go along with that.
I agree with Councillor Mims. Both candidates certainly had great qualifications to be on the commission, but Mr. Lawrence, as she'd said, is finishing his first term and comes with highly recommended from other members of the commission. So I would agree with that, Chris Lawrence.
I would agree.
I'm seeing the majority shaking their head yes. Typically, we try to give other people opportunities that haven't served. I think in this situation for me, I will support Christopher Lawrence. So we saw a majority for Christopher Lawrence. Lawrence. Could I get a motion to appoint, please?
So moved, Mims.
Second, Taylor.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to accept correspondence?
Move.
Second, Mims.
Moved by Solis, seconded by Mims. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 16B, Community Police Review Board. Community Police Review Board has 2 vacancies, 1 at large and 1 current or former peace officer to fill a 4-year term, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2025. And this one, we have 2 vacancies, 1 at large, and then 1 current former peace officer. And we do have 1 male requirement and 1 none.
I just have a question. This might be for Sue. In discussing this with some other counselors, have we actually had a peace officer on there, or have we, I believe we've had an attorney. Is that a legitimate, I guess, person to fill that role? I did not see anybody on here that specifically indicated previous law enforcement. So I guess, yeah, can you help us with that, Sue?
I don't know, Kelly, do you know, you staffed it recently too?
There isn't currently.
Right.
In the past, there was, but I think in the, I don't know if it's, I imagine it's the code, that there's an option to waive that requirement of the peace officer.
Right, thank you. I mean, for me, I guess maybe the closest that came to that, and one that I would support would be Teresa Seeberger. She's got experience both as a prosecutor, public defender, magistrate. So she certainly has that familiarity with the criminal justice system, not necessarily actually as a law enforcement officer, but I would support her. And I guess my second one, if nobody else is jumping in, I guess would be Bryson Myers, shelter house worker. Again, somebody who's very much engaged with population who might have interaction with law enforcement.
I was impressed with Bryson Myers' application. Then I thought, I believe it was Melissa Jensen mentioned some law enforcement background. She public safety, senior director of public safety. I don't know if that comes close to being in law enforcement or what we would make of that.
I think we just reappointed Jensen to the Civil Service Commission pretty recently.
Right, she met on the Civil Service Commission, right?
Okay, I think we just started her term maybe in April.
And she has been on here before, and so I would be more amenable, I think, to giving some new people an opportunity.
I really don't have any preference for who's going to be selected, but I want to say something out there. I don't think like somebody came from the local enforcement or anything that will be like, experience that's needed in the police community review board. No, of course we need people from the community, he knows the issues of Black people and people of color regarding the interaction with the police. Because most likely, I serve with the people in the commission who has a background in the law enforcement. I don't think that's what's helpful because most likely they support the police all the time. So I just believe that we have to look to the people of color to be more in the community because those are the people who can know the interaction and feel what's happening to the community who come forward to complain about the police.
And I also hope that we will, as the CPRB suggested, be able to expand the number of people on that on the CPRB soon. So, and we'll be looking forward then to more applicants of color, among others.
And Mayor, if I just may comment, as Kelly indicated, that the code does provide for council to waive the requirement of the officer or the being a current or former peace officer.
I note on this one, we do have a gender requirement for one male. And so looking from that point of view first, I also thought Bryson Myers was on my list, and Teresa Seeberger, who, as Susan noted, has experience in the criminal justice system, both as a prosecutor and a public defender and magistrate. So I thought that would be helpful.
I'm fine with those.
I can support those too. And look like we have majority for Teresa Seeberger and Bryson Myers. Could I get a motion to appoint those two?
So move.
Second, Thomas.
Moved by Weiner, seconded by Thomas. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 16C is Historic Preservation Commission at Large. This is Historic Preservation Commission at Large, one vacancy to fill a 3-year term, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. And here, I'm gonna actually ask Kelly to give us an update on the gender balance.
You should see my piece of paper with my notes. So this is a 12-member commission. And so with the folks coming off, the remaining, there are 4 females and 3 males. So if you were just looking at the 2 that we have applications for, so the at-large and the college green, to equal out that gender balance, it would be 1 male and 1 none. If you wanted to do it that way, if you're looking at all the vacancies, it would be 2 females and 3 males. But if you wanted to balance it out now, 1 male and 1 either or. If that makes sense.
And is that including the college green, or the college green is separate?
That's including the college green. So it's 1 at large, 1 college green, so 1 male, 1 none. And that would give you 4 and 4 plus an alternate either or.
Because certainly Noah Stark actually lives on college and is in the college green district. So of course, I would think that he would be well suited for that position.
I would agree, and I would also support Margaret Beck for the other position.
I was looking at Frank Wagner for the other position, and my reasoning there, he's been on previously, but with some of the issues they've been talking about, I think having representation on there also as a contractor and somebody who understands some of those remodeling and reconstruction issues would be really helpful as they're having those kinds of discussions. So I was supportive of Frank Wagner for the at-large.
Well, they have, aren't the building trades represented by some of the representatives, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, but given 12, I don't think it hurts to have more than one.
All right. Any other? So maybe we'll stick with the at-large Historic Preservation Commission. So there's Margaret Beck, who's been suggested by John, and then we have Frank Wagner, who's been suggested by Susan. And they gave their reasons.
Looking at both of their applications, I'd also go with Frank Wagner for the at-large.
Yeah, we have the one mail. It sounds like there's only one application for College Green. So because there is one none, if we want to kind of get a balance there now. Margaret Beck, Frank Wagner, I can go with either. I think they both have some things to contribute. So I'll see where other people land, but I can go with either.
I mean, you're going to end up 5-4 gender balance, no matter which way we go.
Yep.
Frank Wagner obviously is well qualified, but I agree with Margaret Beck. I think give somebody, especially female, experience on that commission.
Janice, Maz, I mean,
yeah.
Speak up here.
I don't feel strongly one way or another, which is the challenge here. I mean, a lot of times I look at the qualifications and say, I really want somebody. So do you have an opinion, Mayor? I mean, I'll pick if you want, but it's.
Yeah. I was trying to maybe relook at applications. I read them both earlier. I would be comfortable. Again, I think either would offer some opportunity. I'm fine with Margaret Beck. I think that, sometimes having that lay person, even though we have a lot of lay people on there, I find value in that. I don't know that we always need an expert. And we do have one, as was mentioned. But many people have experience, being a homeowner.
Yeah, I mean, my point was they've got some major issues in front of them right now in terms of, do they change some of their rules and how do they look at things? And I think having another person who has some of that experience can add to that discussion, regardless of how they end up making their decision, what their decision is. So that was the reason I was looking at Frank.
Sure. So we have 3 for Margaret Beck and then 2 for Frank Wagner. So we're just want to get some final positions here.
You have, say it again.
We have 3 for Margaret Beck and then 2 for Frank Wagner.
I go with Margaret Beck.
We have a majority, so we'll just leave it at that. So could I get a motion to appoint Margaret Beck?
So move.
Second, Thomas.
Moved by Salee, seconded by Thomas. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
I'm opposed.
Okay. Sorry. Motion passes 6-0. I mean 6-1. Item number 16D, Historic Preservation Commission, College Green. Historic Preservation Commission, one vacancy to fill a 3-year term, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. And council discussion. This, we just talked about Nora Stork. There were two people that kind of support it, and that's the only application.
Yep.
Yep.
So it seemed like we're all in support.
Yep, and seems qualified, lives in the right area, has.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I get a motion to approve Nora Stork?
So move, Nora Stork.
Second, Taylor.
Moved by Solis, seconded by Taylor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 16E is Housing and Community Development Commission. Housing and Community Development Commission, there are 3 vacancies to fill a 3-year term, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2024. And this has 3 vacancies, 2 female requirements and 1 male.
Oh, I thought it was none. 1 male or 1 none?
None.
None.
Is it one? Okay, I wrote that down wrong. So 1 none and then 2 female.
Well, I agree with reappointing Megan Alter and Maria Padron.
I would go with Megan, but I would go with Becky Reedus. Maria she's completed an unexpired term and done a first term. So I think to give somebody else an opportunity, I think would be prudent. And I think Becky can bring incredible knowledge and experience to this commission with her decades of service in the nonprofit world of Iowa City and Johnson County.
Well, I would support Megan and Becky as well.
I would also.
Maria as a third, but I'm certainly willing to consider other options.
I would support Megan and Becky and would suggest Caleb Benning as the third. And I did check in with him today. He submitted an application last fall and said he was very interested still.
I would support him as well.
I actually was interested in V because V has served on the committees before and is American and did a good job when was on commission before. So I'm supportive of V.
I spoke with V today and they are not able to commit to serving at this time. So,
Kelly,
I was thinking that too, Pauline.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing as well, but thank you for speaking with them, Laura.
Kelly, if you don't mind, do you have the demographic for those people for the commission?
I do. What are you looking for?
I just want to make sure, like, do you have people of color there?
Caleb is an African-American young man.
And how many people of color there?
And are you looking for current board members?
No, the current, not expired. Like I know that Maria, is expired and she is reapplying, right?
Peter is, that's on there.
Yeah, so
I just believe if we are reappointing people, we should reappoint her too. She's really bringing a lot of good perspective from the people of color to the Latino persons, and we have a lot, like a wide Iowan in the board, So I think we need to put people who look like the community at least in commissions.
Well, that's where Caleb would fit in, in doing that. I think he's got one of the qualifications, but gender-wise, or race-wise, ethnicity, he fits that too.
Still, she's really being good, and I think since we don't have another person, we can do that.
I guess I would say we do have another person. I mean, she's served like 1.5 terms, And as a council, we've made a commitment to giving different people, new people, an opportunity. And so
That's not true, Susan. A lot of time, last time I said this person had 2 terms and we need to elect another person. Everybody said no, and we elect him at the Human Rights Commission. And now, you know, whenever just you want to make your point, this is have to be, yeah, we need to give people a chance. If not, no, those people have experience and they have to come back. You know, earlier you reappointed somebody just because you said they've been in this commission and they have experience. This person also have experience, and since we, you know, reappointed also Megan, I think so we need to reappoint her too.
And again, just the way I would see this as different is we have gone both ways when somebody has served 1 term. We've had times when we've had 1 term that we've reappointed, and we've had times where we've had somebody that's had 1 term that we've chosen not to reappoint, and it's been for various reasons. I look at this situation, we've had somebody who served more than a term. She's completed an unexpired term and completed a full term. So to me, at that point, we have so many people who want to serve that we have committed as a council. We want to try to give a variety of people an opportunity, and we have a person of color who we can appoint as well.
You have not been consistent on that. I've been seeing this. Anyway, I would like to reappoint her.
Okay, just sort of trying to answer the other question. Just look, I don't know these people, but it appears to me that looking at names, there are likely, assuming that we would also appoint Caleb Benning, there are likely 2 other members of the commission who are also of color, whose terms are not expiring. Just to sort of circle back and answer that one question.
Correct.
You mean we have another Latino on the board?
No, there are 2 other, I believe, people, not Latinos, there are 2 other people of color on the board.
That's what I mean. We need representation. We have Latinos, we have African, we have African American, we have immigrants in this community. It's not only white people and Black people.
I believe there was an applicant, I don't know if you saw.
I'm aware of that. I'm just trying to answer the question.
Oh, okay. Mazahir, I think there was a Berlin Mendez that listed Hispanic as the ethnicity, if that's what you were looking for. But I'm supportive of Maria. She's currently serving as chair, so obviously she knows this commission, and we need people that are familiar with the workings of that commission. So I'm supporting of Maria. I mean, I love Becky Rita. She served a lot for the community, and probably would do well on this commission. But I'm in favor of reappointing Maria.
All right, so it sounds like we have Megan Alter out there, Maria Padron, Becky Ritas, Caleb, and then there was Baining. Oh no, that's Caleb. Yeah. All right. You know, I look at this and I'm, you know, looking back at some of the names, and I don't have right on a spot. I'm not recalling all of the things of each person's application. Certainly, I think there is value to making sure that we give opportunity to various people, various representations on the commission. I think Mayor Pro Tem does make a good point as far as like we don't have a Latinx on the commission. And so I think, Councilor Teller, did you just say that there was another person that stated that they're Latinx?
Berlin Mendez listed Hispanic.
Yeah. I think if we wanted to kind of, get some new opportunities for people to be on the commission, I wonder if anyone would consider, a new person that, is Hispanic.
Representation is important, but so is experience and what they can bring to this. And for me, I quite frankly think one of the strongest applicants here is Becky Reedus. With her 40+ years in the community and the nonprofits, I think she brings an awful lot to this.
I
No
think
doubt about that. Go ahead, Maya.
I'm sorry. I think for me right now, I'm confident that I would support Caleb and I would support Becky Reedus. I think she does have a lot of experience. And so I will leave one open, and just to continue the conversation.
I support those two as well.
Okay. So it seemed like Becky Reedus and Caleb, they both have majority support. So we just have
And Megan.
so we have one female opening that we have to determine.
I thought we said Megan.
I'm not,
I
well,
don't know. It sounds like everything is sort of up for grabs right now.
Can we
Mayor
just say the
Pro
name
Tem-
and ask the people to say if they are support them or not? Because I don't know. This is now
Sure.
confusing now.
yes. So then why don't we do this? Why don't we take some nominations for the one final female opening? So I think we have majority of council for Caleb and for Becky, or do I put Becky's name back out there just to see where we are?
Can we know who is supporting those two?
Who all will support Caleb?
I will.
Raise your hand. Okay, so we know we see a majority for Caleb.
Okay.
And then who all would support Becky Reedus? So I do see a majority. So I think at this point, if we can just take some nominations for the female position.
I would say Megan Alter.
Okay.
I would agree, just with the difference in the time served between.
I wonder if we can, not to interrupt, sorry about that. I wonder if we can just have names nominated for now, and then we can go through and see who's supporting who.
Mayor Pro Tem, were you going to nominate Maria Padron? Or
I thought in the beginning Megan was done deal. That's why I said, Maria too. But it seemed like now I want to see how many people support Megan. And I support Maria, of course. I support both of them.
Okay. So right now you're not, any other nominations besides Megan Alter?
Maria.
Okay, Maria. All right. Any other nominations? Okay, so for Megan Alter, there's two. It's Megan Alter and Maria. So who will support Megan Alter? We see majority. Who will support Maria? Yep, so Megan Alter will be moving forward. So can I get a motion to appoint Becky Reedus, Caleb, I don't know how to pronounce the last name, and Megan Alter?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Burgess, seconded by Mims. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 16F is Library Board of Trustees Library Board of Trustees, 3 vacancies to fill a 6-year term, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2027. And this one, if I have my notes right, the 3 vacancies is 1 non and then 2 male.
I would say John Rayburn and Dan Stevenson, especially Dan Stevenson. He has experience with the West Branch Library Board.
I also support Dan Stevenson and Noah Kim.
I support Noah Kim.
I support Dan and Noah.
Okay, and I go right ahead.
Sorry, I support Dan and Noah. I had John Rayburn. I also had Daniel Kiernan as a possibility too.
It seemed like we have majority for Dan and Noah. So could I get a motion to appoint them to the Library Board of Trustees?
Should we get our third one?
We need a third one, Bruce.
Oh, I am so sorry. So we have 2 for John. Yes. And then this is true. Sorry about that.
I'm amazed that they're 6-year terms. It's hard to imagine committing to something for 6 years.
So let me just make sure, Councilor Mims, you just named 2 other people.
Yeah,
I just have down.
Yeah, I said Dan Stevenson and Noah Kim. Pauline had also mentioned John Rayburn, which was on my list, but then also Daniel Kiernan as a possibility too. So I'm listing 4. I realize we can only select 3. I'm just kind of curious if anybody else, was looking at Daniel Kiernan and what people's thoughts were.
I also had Daniel Kiernan on my list.
Okay.
I had thought John, because he'd mentioned that he'd had friends that were members on this commission, and as well as he had talked to some library workers, and so I was impressed with his application.
Okay. I can support Dan, Noah, and Daniel. Karen.
That's all right with me.
Okay. So we have a majority for appointments. Could I get a motion to approve Dan Stevenson, Noah Kim, and Daniel Kiernan to the Library Board of Trustees?
So moved, Mims.
Second, Thomas.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. 16G, Planning and Zoning Commission. Planning and Zoning Commission, 2 vacancies to fill a 5-year term, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2026. And there are 2 vacancies with 1 male and 1 none requirement. Now, we do know that there are some applications that I think I don't think people will consider, but because I'm sorry about that. Yep. Is there any proposals from people?
Mark Sines has been on that P&Z for well, obviously one session, his first term and expiring, and I think he's done a good job on that. So I would say reappoint Mark.
I know Mark, he lives in the neighborhood, and I think he'd be good to continue. And he noted in his application continuity for the commission.
Yeah, I can support Mark. And what I was gonna say is, like Caleb, we had just appointed him, so I wouldn't consider him to be for this commission. So I probably just should have finished that. So then we need one. Well, there's I think we have 3 for Mark right now. Any other nominations for Mel? And any other support for Mark?
I can support him. I'm actually now wondering about Maria Padron for the other position on P&Z, because I think she would bring some other interesting experience to this.
See, my concern with that, Janice, is, again, we go back and try and say we're going to give different people an opportunity to serve across our different boards and commissions. And if we just circulate people from one commission to another, we're not opening it up to new and different people to give their input to the city on various boards and commissions.
Council members, we need to have people look like the community. Yeah, if we have few people of color in the community, and the community is mainly white people, that means each time we give white people opportunity and we then give people of color, because we have only one person who is interesting, they can do this. I don't know how you guys think about this. And every day this is telling me that we are not giving opportunity for the people. We keep giving, appointing our friend, people that we know, and we think they know better. I think she deserves to have a chance to serve on a commission that she never served. If you just don't have that notion of people serve. I've been seeing council appointing somebody 2 times being served, and for the 3rd time. I saw that. We have to be fair, and we have to encourage people of color to serve.
I agree, we need to encourage them, and we need to get more applicants of color, most definitely. But we still need to keep opening it up to giving different people opportunities.
If we don't have right now a person of color, and that the only person of color who have it, we should appoint them until we have somebody else. But not because, oh, we don't have another person. Sorry, people of color, we're gonna have white people because you are not coming forward. This is really, I don't know, but this is never gonna end. We are here about like Black Lives Matter, about buyback community and all this, and we are not doing it. We're just doing everything for the cosmetic. Every single day, this council proven for me that we do things for the cosmetic only, to tell the people, hey, we have this, that's it. But when it comes to real things, we're not doing it. Please appoint Maria for these positions. So we have for the planning and zoning, for the first time, we have Latino person there, if I'm not mistaken.
We do have, at least I at least wanted to talk about what we have here for the planning and zoning. So Maggie Elliott, she came in middle of someone's term, if I'm not mistaken. She didn't serve a full term. And she's replied for reappointment. I do hear certainly the concern with very few people. Thank Maria for putting her head out there to represent. as I'm looking at the current situation, I think Maggie Elliott, she has, a desire to be reappointed. I will support her and just put her name forward. Um, I do know that we need a lot of people of various backgrounds to really come out and be on commissions. Sometimes it's the same faithful few that keep putting their head out there. We do know that as well. But I'm going to support Maggie. I'm going to push Maggie Elliott's name forward.
I also support Maggie Elliott.
And I am going to support Maria Padron because one of the things that she talked about in her application is looking at P&Z through an affordable housing eye, among other things. But I think that we need that voice in there as well.
Great.
Yeah, I've I'm kind of reconsidering here, and I do think Maria's emphasis on affordable housing is something that I think would be a useful point of view on the P&Z.
Normally, I would have gone with the reappointment of Maggie because I think the consistency is important. But I think with all the discussion with the equality and balancing things out, and since she didn't go with Maria for the other, I would be willing to support her for this. And as John said, she does have an emphasis on affordable housing, which we've talked till we're blue in the face about the need for that. So I think that's important.
Great. We do have a majority of 4 for Maria, and I'm happy to reappoint Maria. I think the affordable housing piece, she'll definitely, bring some value there. And I think certainly represent her being present, and her voice will be very important. So I think if we're ready, we are ready to appoint. Could I get a motion to appoint Mark Sines and Maria Patron?
Move.
Thank you. Moved by Saleh, seconded by Weiner. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We have 16H Parks and Recreation Commission. Parks and Recreation Commission, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment through December 31st, 2022. Council discussion. And here we have, and I've lost my notes. 1 vacancy, 1 female requirement.
And only one of the 3 Schmidt is of the applicants is a female.
And she's falling into our discussion here. Her ethnicity, she states, is American Indian, and I think we've had very few applicants that ever list that as their ethnicity. So that would be great. And I liked her comment that she would like to serve as a part of a team. So I think that teamwork is important. So definitely April.
I'm seeing a lot of head nods for April. Can I get a motion to appoint April Schmidt?
So moved, Taylor.
Second, Fergus.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 17, announcement of vacancies previous. Applicants must reside in Iowa City and be 18 years of age unless specific qualifications are stated. Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment, 1 vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Board of Appeals, 1 vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Historic Preservation Commission, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired plus a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission North Side, 1 vacancy to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission Woodlawn, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired plus a 3-year term. Vacancies will remain open until filled. Item number 18. So this is community, well, we're going to have UISG come if they are present. Hello, Anna.
Yes, hi, Council. I hope you're all doing well. Ellie and I are now on summer break, so we're just hanging out, transition to work and other stuff. I don't have any updates today since we're just in the middle of transition, but there's different virtual commencement ceremonies happening for the different colleges in the coming weeks if you have a chance to stop into one of those. So Ellie, if you have anything, you're welcome to share, but have a good evening, Council. Thank you.
I don't. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. And enjoy your time of rest from schooling. All right, item number 619 is City Council information. And I'll just open it up for any comments on or reports council wants to make. All right, item number 20, report on items from our city staff. Any update from our city manager?
No update tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
And our assistant city manager, Ashley.
Not for me, thank you.
And then our interim city attorney. Sue.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Great. And then finally, our city clerk, Kelly.
Not tonight, thank you.
All right, could I get a motion to adjourn item number 21?
So moved, Mims.
Second.
Owned by Mims, seconded by Taylor. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. We are adjourned for the night. Have a good night. And happy birthday, Mayor Pro Tem.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
Good night.
Night.
Night all.